and welcome to this episode of the AI Show. My name is Seth Juarez. I'm coming to you from my house. It's my house. So I made it so that I can work from home. So first of all, where's everybody coming from? Just put it over in the chat. If you're coming to us from Twitter, go to aka.ms AI Show Live. The AI Show Live, you'll be able to go to YouTube. Make some commentary in the chat. We've got a fabulous show set up for you today. Let me tell you about it. Share my screen here. Entire screen. Number one for today. Hold on. I think no. There we go. Here we go. Okay, cool. I was on the wrong thing. So number one, we're going to talk about Azure AI Search. Exclamation mark. Azure AI Search. Benoit, he's here. He's graciously agreed to answer questions. Number two, we are going to be talking about Prompty a little bit more today. So we're going to have we have some options here. I think we need to work on a project, like a full end-to-end make a thing. So we have a choose your own adventure, CYOA. To decide what we're going to make. We'll come up with some ideas and maybe we'll put a poll out or something. We can do a vote. Because I think making something is really instructive. The other thing is I'm actually behind on some work. So I could also work on the Prompty website. Because I'm working on the docs, right? So folks can see what's going on. And if you're wondering what the Prompty website looks like, it's just prompty.ai. Look at this beautiful site. Look at this. Isn't it glorious? I know. And then here, this is because we're all nerds here. You can see exactly when it was built. So if you're here, tell us where you're coming from. Put it in the chat. I'll call you out here a little bit. Where are you coming from? And then we'll decide what we're going to be doing. I think I need to work on this doc site, to be honest. If I'm being honest. So those are the things we're going to do. Azure AI Search. Number one. Number two, Prompty. Choose your own adventure, or let's work on the website. I think we need to start with this. We'll write down some ideas of things that we want to build and then look forward to other stuff. So, all right, let's take a look at what folks are saying here. Keynote on Prompty. Absolutely. By the way, if you are wondering where that is, if you go to, maybe we'll put it in the chat here. Microsoft Build 2024. Here it is. And then, man, do you have to sign in to go to the sessions? I hope not. Here we go. I am signed in. I will get the blurb here. Speaker directory. Seth Juarez. That's me. Oh, look at that. Here I am. So this is the actual session here. So let me copy and paste, take all this off. So you can watch this at your leisure, At your leisure. I'll make an ACA link for this. So you can go watch this. You can see, you can hear, you can see me. Like this is Leah doing all the good work here. Uh, you can see Leah; she's just doing excellent work. It's just so good stuff, such good stuff. Uh, um, and then you can see there's me. Look how happy I look. Is this what I look like in real life? And nobody tells me. Nobody tells me. All right, so looks like we have Austin, Texas. Adam, welcome. Texas. Texas. I wanted to say it in Spanish because I can. We have our wonderful friend, LinkedIn user. They are wonderful, LinkedIn user. Thank you again for coming to my wedding, LinkedIn user. It was delightful. It was delightful. Farzad, can you do RAG evaluations using Prompty? You absolutely can. Absolutely. In fact, let's to be super clear. Let's go over here. CYA. Here we'll go with just for emphasis with evals. Boom. We've got some cool stuff planned for Prompty, by the way. Yes. Some cool stuff planned for Prompty. And by the way, thanks, Carol. She's the bestest. If you want to go to the session, check out the session here, aka.ms, Prompty Build. Prompty AI Build. Boom. All right, we should get started here. Let me move this out of the way and... here's a good. I really like the idea of Prompty, but I can't get past the idea that you're tying the inherent volatility with LLM prompts to your deployed code base. Yes, you are. And the reason why you would do that is because, Rob, dude, we should have you on talk about this stuff. I'm curious what your thinking is. So, anyways, I speak dogmatically, not because I know everything that I'm doing, but because I like there to be clarity. But if people have better ideas, I'd love that. I really like the idea of Prompty, but I can't get past the idea that you're tying the inherent volatility with LLM prompts to your deployed code bases. You are. However, when you're doing development, that asset needs to get frozen, or you do what's called second order prompting, or at least what I call second order prompting. And we should totally get into that, because second order prompting is creating prompts to generate prompts, then call the LLM, right? So you generate a prompt by calling the LLM, and then call it, or third order prompting, right? And so the idea here is that you need to fix something when you're developing. And so if you're going to fix something, you might as well version it. That's a great call out, Rob. Doesn't that increase the impedance when iterating on your prompts? Maybe. But I'd love to know more. We should have you on, Rob. I got to get it so that people can call in and stuff. The other question here from Farzad, can you build multi-reasoning agents? Yeah, you can. I'll show you one. Okay. Let's see. Vinod, you ready? Give me a thumbs up. Is he here? I don't know. Let's see. I'm going to put him on anyways. How you doing, bud? Vinod, you ready? You there, buddy? There he is.
Audio is breaking up right as you put me on screen.
See, what am I doing, Vinod? I'm like breaking up in audio and stuff.
Okay, now it's good.
Okay, good. There you go. So I'm so excited you're here, my friend. We recorded something just last week, or was it the week before? I don't remember.
I
And
think it was just last week, but yeah, it's been an eventful couple of weeks. So
I know it feels like it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play it. But are you okay sticking around to answer questions?
absolutely, absolutely. And then
All
Farzad
right.
on my team's here as well. So we've got, we're well covered from the Azure AI Search side.
Farzad, I love it. Oh yes, okay. All right, so let's do this. Let's play this, and then we'll chat after. Okay.
Perfect.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. This is Azure AI Search with Vinod. You're not going to miss this episode of the AI Show where we talk all about RAG at scale with Azure AI Search. My friend Vinod, make sure you tune in. Hello, welcome to this episode of the AI Show. We're talking all about RAG at scale with Azure AI Search with my friend Vinod. How do you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. We had a great build conference just last week, and announced a lot of cool new features and a lot of cool customers. And so it was a pretty exciting time for us.
So, for those that don't know, I want to dive right in here. That if they don't know what Azure AI Search is, can you give us a little bit of a kind of a tiny introduction?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so Azure AI Search, of course, is a search product. Search, or what's known as information retrieval, is a category that's been around literally for a few decades. And then Microsoft, in particular, has invested in search at the consumer, at the enterprise level, and others for quite a while. What makes Azure AI Search kind of interesting and kind of exciting right now is that there's this big, broad new use case for search, which is retrieval augmented generation, or using search to feed data into large language models, which then go on and perform other tasks. Right. So classically, what people have experience with is search inside of SharePoint or OneDrive or whatever, where it's an end user kind of directly consuming search results. With Azure AI Search, we're leaning heavily into the idea that a lot of search is now going to be intermediated right between the user and the search engine by an LLM. And so, as a result, the name of the product, Azure AI Search.
And it's a really good pattern that solves a lot of issues. Can you walk us through what that pattern looks like?
Absolutely. And so the basic idea, the phrase that's kind of taken hold in the industry is something called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. And the gist of RAG is basically that when an end user is asking an AI based application a question about a product, or a question about some content, or a question about their health insurance policies and so on, there's some orchestration layer or some application layer thing that says, aha, this is a question that might be better answered by giving the LLM additional data. So data that might be private data inside of the enterprise, or private data inside of other repositories, and then asking the LLM the question. And so an orchestration layer, something like LangChain or Llama Index and so on, forks the question and asks the retrieval system, hey, do you have any content that might be relevant to this question? Retrieval goes out, pulls the content back, and the orchestration layer kind of combines the content plus the original prompt or the original question from the end user, and sends that entire package to the LLM to answer the question.
It's a really useful pattern that makes it really easy to use these things as developers. How does Azure AI Search help in this process?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the utility of the pattern is, there's no question it's amazing, right? Like I would estimate that something like 70 to 80, maybe even more, of all enterprise AI, enterprise LLM use cases that I've certainly seen involve some level of retrieval augmented generation or some level of RAG. And so I think this is going to be a very common, almost as typical or almost as common as using a database. Is going to be using a knowledge retrieval system when you're sitting with an LLM.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this slide because my very next question was going to be, all right, how much can you actually put in there? Because obviously there's only so much space you can put into a prompt. But if you want these things to behave intelligently in a general way across a wide swath of knowledge that you store, how much can you actually put in there? And I think this answers it a little bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is one of the things that we were announcing at Microsoft Build last week. There's many, many dimensions of scale, and maybe if we take a step back, right? I think one of the interesting things, and it's been fascinating journey to be a part of inside of the industry, is LLMs and RAG and so on, right? They only really burst onto the scene about 2 or 3 years ago, depending on the Chat GPT or GPT-3 or so on. Most of last year, right? Most of 2023 was really about experimenting with RAG and trying out different RAG workloads. What we're really seeing this year, and what a lot of the announcements we put out at Build, is that we're now seeing RAG going out into large scale production workloads, large scale use cases. Maybe one of the biggest of them all, of course, is OpenAI, and we announced OpenAI's use of Azure AI Search to power their own internal RAG services, but all the different Microsoft Copilots as well, right? Copilots inside of Office, MS365, Copilot Studio, and so on. They all use some and maybe most recently Windows, all use some variation of RAG to drive core end user behavior. And so, with all that context, one of the things that we've been investing in heavily inside of Azure AI Search over the past couple of years has been scaling on a couple different dimensions. The one that we're talking about here on screen is scaling in terms of vector capacity or retrieval capacity. We've announced a series of major new upgrades to our products and services that enable you to get something like 10 to 12x the vector retrieval capacity and throughput on a given instance of a server than you had before, right? At no increased price. And this is just kind of reflecting the need to grow with where our customers are growing. In addition to that, there's a lot of work that we're doing around shrinking the size of vectors, or giving you more dynamic control over the size of vectors. As the content that's being retrieved and being served to these large language models goes from being, say 5 or 10 or 15 shots, or 5 or 10 or 15 examples of content, up to potentially hundreds and very soon thousands of examples of content, and being retrieved from a database that used to be in the terabytes, but as very quickly as we get into things like data lakes and so on, becomes petabytes of content, you need to scale in that dimension as well. And so both things that are pretty exciting for us.
And with that expanded capacity, are your data types changing? Because I know you have a lot of data types. Tell me about that.
Sure. I mean, so one of the beauties of retrieval augmented generation across the board, and like this next generation of enterprise search, is as a result of as a result of the technology known as embeddings, right, where we create this vector representation of an underlying piece of content. You now get a lot more capability to support a lot of different types of content. And so classically, enterprise search was primarily a text phenomena. But now with vector embeddings, it's just as easy to go and search images, search videos, search different types of encoded text. So for example, searching an invoice as if it was just a piece of text versus searching an invoice as if it was a structured piece of technology, structured piece of text, right? An invoice has a specific schema associated with it, and so on. And so all of these different permutations of content are things that Azure AI Search provides fantastic support for.
And this is cool because I mean I know we talk about the Azure OpenAI embeddings, but there's other embeddings too that you can even make more targeted, smaller, larger, whatever, to make things even better.
Correct. And so within Azure AI Search, one of the things that we do, and one of the just long-term investment streams for us is going to be systematically meeting your data where it is in all the different types and formats that the content is. And so one of the things that we were excited by that we announced inside at Build was support for retrieving content directly from OneLake. And so via OneLake, of course, is maybe one of Microsoft's biggest investments outside of AI. And so OneLake is kind of serving as this collection point or the single access point for all of an enterprise's content, regardless of what application created the content and what cloud the content is resident in. Right? There's shortcut connectors to things like Amazon S3 and GCP and so on. We're able to ingest content directly from OneLake and ingest that content in a variety of different formats. And so classically text and documents, but also images, media, and so on. One of the things that we've also done is we've provided pretty amazing support for a variety of different embedding models. So both Microsoft's own internally developed embedding models, as well as external embedding models by our partners such as OpenAI, as well as a very large audience of open source embedding models. And so based on the different representations that these embedding models present, you've got a whole slew of options, a whole slew of ways for how do you get that content, make it available to search, and then represent it inside of search for use by your AI-based applications.
Yeah, and this is absolutely awesome. For those that are wondering, like what is the actual process for vectorizing these kinds of things?
Yeah, I mean, so content vectorization is maybe a fancy word or for saying a fancy way of describing content preparation. When you're doing a retrieval augmented workload, there's usually 2 or 3 steps involved in making the content understood and parsable by the search system. Then once that content's parsable and understood by the search system, it's now servable to the LLM. And so understanding and parsing that content is usually multiple steps. There's usually a variety of different places that content can come from. So for example, things like OneLake, a variety of different formats that content might be in. So for example, the content might be inside of a PDF file, but inside of that PDF, it actually might just be the product of a flatbed scanner. And so a whole bunch of images that happen to be inside of a PDF file format. That content usually needs to be OCR'd. That content needs to be spliced and chunked into different components and different elements. And there's a whole variety of different chunking strategies that the industry has come up with. And probably a new chunking strategy comes up a couple times a month at this point.
Right.
Once you've kind of identified how you want to chunk that content and kind of identify key ideas or key elements of that content, vectorization of the content is now how you provide context. Is how you say this is a piece of content. This is a piece of content that contains the word hello. This is a piece of video that contains the word hello. And this is an image that has the word hello. And how do you make sure that all three of those end up with similar vector embeddings? Is this process of vectorization. Once you have all those chunks, it now becomes, you now add it to the index, and you do a very similar process to understand the queries coming in order to match queries to the appropriate vectorized object.
And this is just an awesome process, but is it one that you can do continuously? Here's an example, and I know the answer is yes, but I mean, what if there's like a file that's been added or a file that's been removed in OneLake or whatever your data source is? Do you have to redo the entire process? Is it incremental? Tell me about that.
Absolutely, yeah. So the short answer is yes, it is incremental. We provide, at every single level of the system, we provide both automated techniques for handling things as well as kind of developer-oriented APIs for touching and managing and tweaking these parameters. And so when you're doing integrated vectorization, which is basically saying, hey, Azure AI Search, you take care of this for me. Especially if it's a rich service like OneLake, Azure buckets, Azure storage buckets, and so on. We have a variety of techniques we do to optimize the end-to-end flow, such as incremental change tracking and doing differential updates to our index. We also provide a bunch of APIs to the developers directly, so they can either set up either pull or push sources for content, and so they can explicitly push new types of content into the index and into our vectorization pipeline, or tell Azure to go pull content from a bucket at some periodic, at some period, and then that it gets added to the index.
I mean, this is amazing. I know you mentioned Azure OpenAI briefly. Can you tell us more about what it is that they're doing?
Sure. And so OpenAI, of course, is one of Microsoft's key partners in the AI race. They're a producer of frontier models, and so things like GPT 3.5, GPT 4, their most recently announced model, GPT 4o. All these models are kind of pushing the frontiers of what AI can do. And they've kind of generated a lot of excitement and interest in the industry. Obviously, retrieval augmented generation is one of these core benchmark use cases. And when OpenAI was designing the retrieval augmented generation pipeline, retrieval augmented generation system, they actually did a pretty open search across the industry to figure out what their solution should be, and decided on Azure AI Search to kind of power their own retrieval augmented generation service. And so this is a quote from them talking about how, as a result of the scale that we provide in terms of capacity, they've now 500x'd the storage limits they make available to their own customers when it comes to how much content and knowledge they can upload to the OpenAI service. Azure OpenAI, which of course is a version of OpenAI's models that are available inside and wrapped in the security of an Azure tenant, they get access. You're only one click away from enabling Azure Search against your own Azure OpenAI use cases internally.
I mean, and this is awesome. I know there was also a video. So you okay if I play that?
Go for it. Let's take a look.
All right, let's do it.
At OpenAI, our mission is to make artificial intelligence both accessible and safe to all of humanity. ChatGPT has been the fastest growing consumer app in all of history, with over 100 million weekly active users. Our API is trusted by over 2 million developers worldwide.
We launched 2 RAG-powered features. GPTs lets users build custom versions of ChatGPT that have external knowledge. Over 3 million GPTs have been built on the platform. That's a significant amount of retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, that is happening daily.
The Assistants API lets developers build their own AI-powered assistants to integrate external knowledge using RAG at scale.
To successfully support our massive user base, we need to use the best technology available. That's why we decided to use Azure AI Search and Azure Cosmos DB.
Azure AI Search is more than just a vector database. It is a retrieval system with hybrid search capabilities and support for metadata filtering. Our API users can now upload 500 times the number of files that they could earlier, and that's powered by Azure AI Search.
Azure Cosmos DB auto-scales to meet our capacity needs while being enterprise-grade in feature set and security.
The Azure stack has been very reliable and has worked really well to support our scale needs thus far. OpenAI and Microsoft both deeply believe in responsible AI. With Azure and our tools, we can solve some of the biggest problems of today and tomorrow.
All right, that was amazing. And so OpenAI is using Azure AI Search to scale out, just like you're suggesting that we should be doing. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And once again, if it, OpenAI is absolutely the forefront of what's going on inside AI at this moment, and their customer base has just exploded. And so, we're very excited that we're able to join in that growth and kind of keep up and help feed that growth.
Amazing. Well, Vinod, where can people go to find out more?
Absolutely. So the fastest way to learn anything else you want to learn about Azure AI Search is AKAMS/Azure Search. You'll see easy, quick ways to go try the product. Lots and lots of documentation, both for developers as well as for administrators. Sample code, different configuration cookbooks, and everything else.
Yeah, and then there also is a blog post that right below you can go and take a look at some of the innovations that happened as of recently as of build. So thank you so much for being with us, my friend.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Seth. Thank you.
And thank you so much for watching and learning all about RAG at scale with Azure AI Search, my friend Vinod. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care. How about them apples?
That was
great.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, of course it was. It was your stuff, my friend. All right, so there's some questions coming in. I want to make sure we get to all of them. Here is the first question. Oh, well, it's more of a comment. I'm very impressed. Let me go up here. I'm very impressed with the hybrid search as compared to vector or text by itself. Some excellent results. Tell us about that a little bit more, because maybe what does it mean to be hybrid and why is it better?
Absolutely. This is actually a great question or a great comment. It cues up a lot of kind of the forward-looking roadmap for our stuff. The classic problem with search, and this is true in a very deep, almost philosophical way, is like any particular blob of content or any particular memory that a person might have. There's multiple ways to kind of represent that blob of content and index that blob of content. Like sometimes you're thinking about a place in terms of the way it sounded, or a piece of text or a piece of content you heard about that place, or the way the place smelled, or the way the place looked, or the way you felt when you're in that place, and so on. Inside of a search system, we have a lot of the same problems. Like there's multiple ways to represent a single block of text. The two most common ones today, of course, are text representation, just literally the tokens or the strings or the words. And then the new hot thing on the hot kid on the block, of course, is vector representation, where you let an AI kind of transmute that text into a matrix of numbers. For a lot of search situations and a lot of real end user problems, the ideal way to grab that content isn't just one model. It's actually two models, and in the future you'll see additional techniques for content representation that all get kind of strung together. And then there's another AI problem, which is how do you weight different pieces of content based on how that content was represented and pulled through in order to generate the final answer. And so this whole idea of multiple representations and that AI is kind of invading every stage of the retrieval pipeline is one of the trend lines I'm probably most excited about in this industry.
Yeah, there's a ton of cool stuff, and being able to put it all together. I love the way you remember stuff is different based upon your senses. It's kind of a cool thing. All right, so we're gonna rapid fire a couple of questions. So I recently read that AI. This is from Krishna. That AI search got some great updates. I haven't used it yet, but would like to know how it plays out versus Weaviate, Quadrant, and the all. I know we don't. Look, I'll be honest. If you ever ask me, what's the best cloud to use, I'm immensely biased. And so I'd probably be like, well, mine. But do you have any comment here?
Yeah, they're all great products. I'll say without calling anybody out in particular, I think one of the big differences to Microsoft's approach to search and retrieval is that we're not looking at it as just the database problem. Right? It's a combined database plus AI problem. And so there's maybe an interesting category out there in the market of pure play vector databases or pure play search systems, text databases, and even some combined systems. But where Microsoft really shines is that we're kind of taking an end-to-end approach and layering AI and a roadmap for using AI to kind of transform every single layer of the search stack.
I love it. Here's the next one. What are the best use cases of AI search versus traditional databases? Because databases in RAG are still, to me, I mean, this is my soapbox real quick because I'm allowed to. Like RAG is retrieval augmented generation. You can retrieve from anything, but if you need like just text, right? I think AI search does a good job. But what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. I mean, I think like traditionally, kind of in the enterprise storage industry. I mean, we're talking like going back decades. Is there's always been like this big bright dividing line between structured and unstructured content, right? Classically, structured content, media, text, and so on. Classically, it makes up 80% of all the content that people are generating. Or you think about all your email, your Word docs, and whatnot. And then classically, structured content is things that can be strictly represented as tables and schemas. It's the minority of content, 20% of content, as they say, but it's where 90% of the automation and computation and all that has happened over the last few decades. The big, exciting, interesting thing with AI is we now finally have a solution. We finally have a tool for bringing automation, analysis, and structured computation to unstructured data. And so you can think of Azure Search as kind of, and it's, as a first product, it's a strong initial product for taking unstructured content and making it as accessible to your systems as databases did to structured data. In the long run, it'll be very interesting to kind of see how these two places evolve, and I think you'll eventually see more bridges between traditional database world and unstructured content world.
Yeah, I mean, I love the you said it much smarter than I ever would. There is the notion of structured data that you can use for retrieval augmented generation, and unstructured, you should use the right data structure or the right service for the right thing, which is great because it turns out that like it's really in the unstructured stuff that where RAG really shines because it's harder to retrieve in a traditional way, so to speak. I think, but again.
Well, one thing we are definitely seeing in the market right now, and this is still the early days of AI, right? We're in the first or maybe even second inning at this point as we're starting to see scale. The scale use case that seems to get a lot of excitement right now in enterprises is a lot of these kind of chat with my docs, chat with my data type situations. And at least for now, the majority of those use cases do tend to be unstructured content, right? Is it bringing all my insurance policies over and letting employees start asking questions about the insurance policies? And so in that situation, it is mostly text in, unstructured queries from users in the form of questions, and then text out. Like it's, the source content that you're retrieving from or trying to analyze is predominantly text right now, but increasingly media and so on. So, there's this pipeline of unstructured in, unstructured out. That's kind of the dominant one today. And we'll see how that bleeds over into structured as well.
All right, so here's another one from Adam. I keep hearing, and we got to rapid fire because we're a little over time. Keep hearing about graph RAG as a thing. Is this a pattern to pursue, and will it be within Azure AI Search?
No specific announcements about graph RAG, but we are definitely excited by the technology of graph RAG. As I mentioned, like one of the long-term threads in search is just all these different ways of representing the source content. Graph RAG is a research direction to explore one new way of representing source content.
Here's another one from Gary. Are there recommendations or good triggers of when to move from storage accounts to something more involved or powerful in feeding the vectorizer? So when should we go from like search, from standard text in like blobs and stuff into something like a vectorizer?
I'm not sure if I'm fully parsing the question, but like we have multiple options, I guess. Unfortunately, this stuff's early, so you might just have to experiment with the right strategy. We have integrated vectorization where we just basically take care of the whole vectorization process for you. We also have vectorizing APIs and chunking APIs and all that stuff, and then any number of toolkits that you can use to kind of manually control that stuff. So my recommendation: try integrated vectorization, see how far you get, and then if that doesn't work for you for whatever reason, lots of toolkits, APIs, open source products, and so on you can layer on top.
Amazing. Well, Vinod, this has been awesome. And also thank you to Farzad, who works with you, who's been answering a ton of good questions in the chat. Thanks, Vinod. We'll have to have you on and we can take a look at how to implement some of this stuff.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
All right, bud. We'll see you later. Well, how about them apples? That was awesome. Yay! Yeah, I'm just trying to make it so that like feels like there's other people here, like that was amazing. All righty. Okay, so back to work here. Good. So there was a couple of questions that folks had. Let me turn this up a little bit. I don't know why this is shuffle and play. There you go. Oh wow, that was a good one. I like it. There was a couple of folks asking some questions here. Let me scroll up about agents. Yeah, this is Farzad. Show us the agent stuff in Prompty, and then Nick. Was it Nick? No, it was Rob. It was Rob about asking. It was some good questions at the beginning from Rob about. I like the idea of Prompty. I don't like the idea of the inherent volatility with prompts, right? And so I think what I'll do is I'll show you the project that I've been working that I worked on for the Prompty talk that you recall if you want to go and see it. I think Carol did such a good job. She's our producer here. Where did that link go? Ah! I can't find it. By the way, Prompty plushies. I think so. Oh, here it is. Here it is. So yeah. So if you want to go, you're gonna see this. You can go see this talk, and you can actually take a look at the github.com. Seth Juarez Toso Creative. So this is the actual. I'll show you this. This is a multi-agent stuff. And then there was another question about Prompty with prompt flow. So many things. Here we go. Let me scroll down so I can read it. It's bigger here. Using Prompty with prompt flow, what is the happy path for connection settings, API keys, and such? It really doesn't matter. It's really what you want to do. It's more secure to go the AAD route. But for those that don't know what Prompty is, because I want to get into this so folks can see it. Prompty is basically three things. It is a specification for an asset class. It is tooling for that asset, and then there's a runtime for this asset, so you can use it in code. That's what this is. All three. Now, currently, the runtimes are like prompt flow, semantic kernel, LangChain, but we have an internal stripped down version of the runtime that we're working to see if we can't release it, right? As a community thing, but we'll see if we can do that. So the specification is just this markdown thing. The second is the tooling. The tooling is the Visual Studio Code tooling, which we're doing a lot of stuff to make it better. And then finally, the runtime, which happens to be LangChain, semantic kernel. We have a Prompty runtime, Prompty.js, that we haven't released yet, that powers the Visual Studio Code extension. Because if you don't know, Visual Studio Code uses TypeScript and JavaScript. And then that's what this is. That's what it is. So here is the. Let me close all this thing so I don't accidentally leak my keys. Okay, so this is a multi-agent system that, like, for example, does multiple prompts. So let me go to the terminal and let me do a pf service start to show you this. And then what I'll do is I will run this so you can see it. So Flask, this runs the back end. And the back end is this app, right? And this app, turn this down. This app, what it does is basically like you post research product assignment to this article, and it goes and it uses three agents: the researcher, the marketing agent, and then the writer to write an article. And so let me do this: cd web ls ld ls. Okay, and npm run dev, and so it's running vite avec vitesse. It's not vite, it's vite because it's French. Voila. And you're probably looking at this website and you're like, this is totally broken. No, I really like minimal UIs. Minimal. So when I run this here, I give it an example. Hey, research team, can you find the latest camping trends? Product team, can you use a selection of tents and sleeping bags context? And then the assignment is to write. Boom. So I'll start the work here, and then you'll see that all the agents does all that. I haven't run this in a while, so hopefully it still works. Yeah. So there you go. It's working. It's running. And so notice that there's 3 agents. And the way agents are represented in Prompty is an agent is really just like a prompt with code behind it. I mean, that's the way we think about it, at least. And so this one takes context and it creates search queries. And these search queries, like notice it loads the Prompty file. It runs the code, and then it loads the queries, generates embeddings, and does a retrieval to do RAG. I mean, this is what this does. So this agent's job is to take someone's text and make search queries out of it, which is cool, right? The second agent is a research agent, right? And this research agent, what it does is it gets this search thing, and its job is to formulate some Bing queries. And then it inserts it. So here's a question. Here's a question from Rob. I'm sure there's a common refrain. Yeah. So the runtimes, we have one in C Sharp in semantic kernel that runs Prompties. So it does that. It's still early, but my personal goal is for Prompty to work in C Sharp that we will work on. C Sharp, TypeScript / JavaScript, and Python. So you're looking at the Python one, but there is some examples. Let me see, because Cassie had a thing. Let me load this up here. I'm looking on the side of the eye. Side of the eye. Let me get this open. No, not that. Oh man, I talked to Cassie a lot. She had a link where she gave me here it is. She even made an AKA link because let me close this here. You can actually go to aka.ms sample collection, aka.ms sample collection, and you should be able to see some. Here it is. Contoso Chat Retail Copilot with Azure Container Apps and Semantic Kernel. So, Rob, Cassie has got you covered. You can go take a look at that. We're working on making the run times more uniform, because one of the things we wanted everyone to work in the environment that they were most happy with, and there's already amazing orchestration tools. But we've had other people ask us, what if we can we go a step down for orchestrators? And yes, we can. By the way, I forgot that we were even doing this. And so notice that the agent here started the research task. The research agent, I didn't finish. The research agent uses function calling. And so you can see this agent has an execute. This agent has a function calling set up inside of the thing. It loads it, and then for each of the functions, it calls it and then returns the research. Right? So this is the agent. These are the function call. Notice that these are the function. This is what standard function calling. And here in the Prompty file, you can see that I pass in the tools. Right. There you go. And someone was asking about, volatility of prompts. It turns out that there's certain prompts that you kind of just want them to work the same way every time. Function calling is one of them. There's others that you want them to be more creative, which is great. Okay. And then here's Adam. Why not just pass the prompts from a database during the API post system prompt? Yeah, so that actually is good. But notice that in this one, we're actually doing that, but we're doing it in a little more clever way, right? So notice this is getting structured search results. This here is getting some product context information. You can see here, and then it's you can do that system. You can do that prompt thing, pass in the system prompt. But I found that I've always wanted more, right? And so that's what this is. And then there you go. It runs it. So those are all the agent things. So let's go back, and you can see that it does a pretty good job at writing stuff. Here's the agent, the search results. I just print out. Here's the marketing task of getting all of our tent information. And this could be a better agent that's like looking for, what are our deals or whatever. And each of these agents has a very specific job. The research is to do like general Bing research. And this, by the way, using function calling to call out to Bing. And then finally, it's like, hey, write the article. And here's the article, right? And you can see the article is pretty good. What if I told you that camping isn't just a summer activity destined for balmy nights and scorching campfires? I want to go camping in the winter now. Winter camping is making waves among the adventurers, bringing a whole new rhythm and excitement to the great outdoors. The latest trends reveal that camping aficionados are not letting the frosty weather dampen their spirits. So grab your gear and let's dive into what's hot, or should we say cool. Like, I can't write this stuff. Like, I can, but this is pretty good. And you're like, well, wait a minute, Seth. What if my job is to write blog posts? Well, now you can write more, and we can go into edit mode. Because editing is always easier than, creating. And so you can see the camping talk of the new golden age. According to Dirt's 2023 camping report, camping has never been more popular, with 35 million ramped in an RV and more than 15 million. This is great. I mean, come on. And then we can click on the source, hopefully. Yes, look at that. This is great. Winter camping trends beyond the ordinary. Snow shelters and kinses. Culinary delights in the cold. Wow. Embracing local culture. Winters. I mean, this is good. This is great. I mean, winter camping offers a refreshing twist to traditional camping, with trends leaning towards creative outdoor cooking, exploring local culture. Wow, like the Queens has never been a time. Ensuring you have the right gear, such as the Skyview blah and the warmth of the blah, will make your adventures truly. So what are you waiting for? Bundle up, pack your gear, and let the winter wonders unfold before you. Yeah, so notice that this is a multi-agent system that, if you look at the code, doesn't feel complicated, right? And with things like this, this is prompt flow tracing. For some reason, when I do generators, it doesn't put everything together. But notice that the create is the opening call, right? The research here, you can see there's the research. And notice that this thing returned tool calls. It said, do this, latest camping trends, winter camping activities. It did 2 finding informations. And then there you go. Then it processed it. And then finally, there's the find products. This is what came in. Can you use a selection of blah? So here's all the products that it found. Cozy night sleeping bag. I mean, it's pretty good. This one found something. This one found something, right? That it didn't use because it didn't need it, right? And then the final writing task. You can see here's the research context, the research, product context, the products, and here's the output. Right? It does it in boom. There you go. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, embrace the chill. It's pretty cool. I like it. I think it's cool. But notice that we were able to do something pretty meaningful in a pretty short block of code. And I know I showed this. I think I showed this last week, but there's some new people here. And this code is available online. It's not this is it. I mean, it's not like it's. I wish. So this, I think, Farzad, maybe you could chime in here, but I think this is a multi-agent system, and the orchestrator in this case is just code. And I do a generator so that I can yield return to the caller so that it can get like bits of information as it goes. But each of the bits, instead of being single tokens or single collections of tokens, it's actually agent returns, right? So you can see that's what's going on here. And this is a whole app. There's nothing like complicated. You can see the website is here. Honestly, the hardest part was centering divs in Vite than the AI. All right, so here's some comments here. Okay, we did that one. I got that. Here's Rob. The possibility for a blogger, RAG and examples of writing style, give it a topic. Yeah, this is like a lot of people, and this is my opinion. A lot of folks are like, oh no, this is going to take my job. Not really. It's going to make you more productive. Like I had to do yard work the other day, and if I didn't have a lawnmower, that would be terrible. It's just a tool, to be faster at mowing my lawn. And if you're a writer, right, with writer's block, for example, this would it'd be awesome. So we're not replacing human writers. No, absolutely not. It's a tool to get them to writing faster. So that view of the IO, Jason, is that the log of everything it did as a dev? I want to access those steps in the chain of thought for troubleshooting. Yeah. So this is called. This is using open telemetry spans. So, for example, in the code, you can see the writer has this trace feature. And that's when it says write, that's the function that was called. So if I go back to this thing, that's the called function. This is the input that it got. Let's go back to the full function. And this is the output that it produced. And you can see that this is a Prompty call inside of prompt flow, and then it converts the template for you, and then it does the OpenAI call. That's what you're looking at. Here's the LLM parameters. Here's the tools. There's no tools that it used here. Here's the raw JSON. So here in the research, it uses tools. So let's go to here. Here's the tools that it used. All right. So yeah. So basically, this is the. This was all blocking. So yeah, this is basically the trace of the call to everything. Okay, so hopefully this helps with the idea of Prompty, because in the end, you have to deploy something, and that something that you deploy is going to have a prompt in there. Rob is asking about that's prompt flow only. Not yet, but we are working on it. Because observability is one of our biggest mottos. In fact, if you go to Prompty.ai, agency with observability, that's our motto. Basically, if you're building agentic style applications with Prompty, you want to have observability. Or if you're giving the LLMs agency to do something, you want to be able to trace it and see what's going on. And so that's what this is all about. But yes, we're working on it. So we this here is pretty locked. This here we're adding more and more stuff. This here is where we need to get some work. And so we have some options that we're considering. One of them is to release a base Prompty library that does the basic stuff. And then all the other LLM tools all the orchestrators can take a depth on it so that we can create. And then obviously that one of those runtimes would be C#. But yeah. Okily dokily. So with that, I think what we need to do is I'd love it if we came up with a. Where's my pencil? Where did my pencil go? Oh, there it is. I see it. It's hiding in the sea of black desk stuff that I have. So let's see. Where is my? Nope. Here. So we need to come up with a project. What do we build? Maybe we'll put a form out or something, so that as we start next week and the others, because usually the way the show works is we have the first half hour we have some new cool thing, and then the next half hour. This show used to be 2 hours long altogether, believe it or not, and we would work on stuff for like, and it would literally be me working on stuff, not like prefab stuff that I work on that looks perfect, because I think there's a lot of value in seeing like what the heck is going on behind the scenes. But yeah, so Rob, yeah, absolutely. We'll do something, but basically, I think what my thinking is if we have a base NuGet Prompty package, then you can just put it into whatever you want, right? Because if we get in the business of connecting things instead of just being connectable, it would be like swatting flies. And with that, let's move on to where is it? Oh, there we go. So this is actually the website, right? So CD web, ls, npm run dev. Okay. By the way, this is really cool. You should go look at it. It's okay. So I can close all that. Everything else was closed. Here we go. This is the property site. Localhost.3000. And you're like, well, it's the same site. It absolutely is the same site. By the way, and we have it so that when we merge domain, this thing just builds itself. You can see here, it's just a container app, and the website has a Docker file. Oh, and if you're wondering where is this website here, so GitHub, it's the Microsoft. Very good. And so what I want to do is I'm making it so that whenever someone is it source? Oh yeah, you don't see it here yet. Whenever you go to like Prompty web, there's this docs folder. And this is where people put MDX files for docs. Because I need to scale out so that if people are like, hey, I have a really good idea for a doc, then they can write it for this. So that's what I'm doing right now. But the problem is that like I want it to look like it's part of the thing. And so that if I go to docs, you can see this is what I'm working on right now. This part. You won't see this in the website. So that's what we're doing. Close here. Okay. So this docs file, by the way, this is Next.js, and what happens is anything that's not in the public folder doesn't show up. And I wanted this to be the place where you put things and not anywhere else, right? And so to make this work, notice there's a docs with a standard slug, catch-all slug that then goes to page.tsx, right? And so this is where I need to make it work because right now it just points directly to this thing. But what I need to do is I need to make it so that when it points to these slugs, it loads the right thing. So if I go to slug item 1, slug item, cool. It should return this thing, documentation. This is for slug item 1. Okay. And then we got to style it a little bit. So there you go. So that's this thing. So notice that when I refresh this, it's not going to say the right thing because it's hard coded. So let's fix this right now. Okay. Slug item 1. Notice that exists. Okay. Should I force it to always be page? And should I force it to be a folder? I think I'm just going to go with page, folder, images. Because the cool thing is, like, when you're writing docs and you're in Visual Studio Code, you want to be able to just look at this stuff like this. And notice that it works really well if you're a folder. So what I had to do to make this actually work is I had to build like a route to get the image. And notice I think that let's change this image to something else so that I'm sure. What is this? No, not this one. Public assets images. Let's do a spec. Copy. Paste. Delete. And this would be a spec. There you go. Okay, cool. So now that we've done that, we need to write this thing correctly. Okay. So there's the page. Let's close this. Notice this does the compilation of the MDX. This gets the front matter. We can do stuff. This is the place where we're putting the content. Yep, there it is. So let's go back here. Okay. So now that we've got the slug, we should be able to load stuff up. Okay. So there's the slug. The slug comes into here. Get data. Slug. Here. Okay. And if I remember right, I think we just get the let me do one that's more complicated because I want to make sure this is right. Copy. Paste. Okay. So in theory, what this should do is slug sub 1. Obviously, it's not doing the right thing yet. Slug sub. So slug sub. And then we'll fix 404s next. Okay, cool. Cool. So we'll do this one since it's more complicated. Oh shoot, I got everything blacked out here. And then page. This is for subby pants. Oh, it's face. Thank you, AI, for helping me. So when I go there, I should see this. Okay. Cool. We got this. Okay. So now when I go here, I should see at the bottom this, and I should be able to do a split. So here. If not slug, then what we want to do is we want to say well, this, can I do that? Is this writable? Yeah. And then what we want to do is we want to say plus slug dot join cool. Right. Cool. And then this one would also be that. Okay. So this should bring back the subby McSubby pants. Okay. So no such file or subpage. Slug item 1. Slug. Okay, so there's a bug here. What? Oh, yes. Like so. Nice. Subby McSubby face. Kaboop. And then when we go back here. Nice. But the image is not doing the right thing, right? Because it's just returning the same image. And so let's go to the API and fix that. Yeah, see that? Oh, this is wrong too. Slug item 1 / So that was a here. You're like, what are you talking about, Seth? It's the bug, the other bug that we just introduced. So let's go to page before we do that. We need to do nice, cool. So now you can see it's doing this on the get call, which is perfect. And then when we go to the root, if not slug, boom. Oh, I guess we can't do that. How about this? Const path equals slug question mark. What are we talking about? We don't. Oh, is it params.slug? Params.slug. There you go. Params.slug. And okay. And then we'll console log that. Console.log path. Okay. Oh shoot, I'm over time. Put this up here. I'll keep working on this. Eventually I want everyone to be able to, submit bugs. So I'll go a little over. I'll go a little over. This is a little bit over. I'll go a little bit over. A little over. To the end of the song. Okay. There he is. That is right. That is right. What is going on? Oh, I know. Nice. Nice. Let's change that to something else. Paste. Rename P. P. Wait, did I change the right one? No, that's slug item 1 I just changed. Control Z. Boom! All right, well, I'll keep working on this. Eventually, I want there to be good docs that everyone can contribute to. So that's what I'm doing here. And then we'll come up with a project that we can all be happy about and excited about. All right, my friends. And with that, our time is nearly up. Well, it's actually over. Next week on the AI show, Prompty Choose Your Own Adventure with me. We're going to be coming up with a project, starting to write some things, getting a feel for how people do Prompty type projects. And what I'll do is I'll make it so that each section is like a tiny video that then we can have a series on. In fact, there was a comment here from Nick T. The Prompt Flow series is great. Looking for a primary. That's exactly what this is. So thank you so much for being with us on the AI show. It's been a delightful time being with you. Hopefully we can spend more time. And I might have to do more of these a week just to get a lot of this Prompty work done. And it turns out that having y'all watch me do this work and asking questions is actually super useful so that we can build the right thing for y'all. So thank you so much for spending some time with us. I know you can do a lot of things with your time. Thank you for being with us. And thank you so much for watching. And hopefully we'll see you next time on this, the AI Show Live, every Monday, 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 Pacific. If you go to the YouTube, youtube.com/@the AI Show Live, make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the flippity flip. Take care. Bye.